Hey everyone, FM Insane here. In my last video I went through some of the initial steps of a new game in Football Manager 2013. In this one we'll be taking a look at some transfers I've made and the main tactic I've chosen to play with. First of all then we'll take a look at the players who have joined and left the club. So then, in terms of key players leaving the club, there haven't really been any so far. Luke Moore, Alan Tate, Augustian and maybe Routledge are the main players who have left the club. I didn't really think that any of them would have a massive effect on the overall success of the coming season, so I was happy to get the money that I got for them. As you can see, there's players there like Mark Gower, Gary Monk. They were kind of aging, and as soon as those clubs came in for them, I was pretty much willing to let them go. We'll look at some of the players that have come in now. At the start of the season, the board gave me a transfer budget of 17 million, but at the same time, I didn't really expect to be able to bring in the kind of players that I have. The main players I've managed to bring in are Bruno, Dragovic, Aspas and Nem, as well as Hilario then, who came in after Tremel left the club to go to Fulham for 1.2 million. So getting Hilario in at 95,000 was pretty good, great profit there really, and the goalkeeper was probably just as good if not better. Now then, we'll just take a closer look at some of the players who have joined the club. As you can see here, Bruno is quite a young player, 18. He joined from Anderlecht for 3.6 million. He's pretty much a really pacey outright winger. Can play in the centre and attacking mid, slightly less so in centre mid, but I'll definitely be looking to use him as a winger. As you can see, 16 pace there, 15 acceleration, 15 crossing, and those stats can only really improve, so we could have a real player on our hands in a few years. So, Alexander Dragovic then. He joined the club from Basel, 21, another young player. I've had him before in a previous save that I did with Wolfsburg, and he really improved on that one. His physical stats are pretty good. The physical stats is where I generally look first for a centre back to see if he's going to be a pacey centre back or a strong, commanding centre back. Dragovic is really well balanced in terms of those stats, so you can really turn him into either of those. But with pace and acceleration of 13, I think it'll be easier to bring those up to maybe somewhere around 15 than get his jumping from 12 up to maybe 16 is probably what you're looking at, because he is 6'1", so maybe if he was 6'3" or something, we could look at making him more commanding centre back, but for now I think I'll try and play him as more of a pacey centre back. He's got quite good technical stats there as well. 13 first touch, dribbling is 11, not that I'd be asking him to do much of that, but passing as well there at 12 and technique at 13. So he should fit into the way that I'll be trying to get the team to play pretty well. Thiago Aspas then, he joined the club for 8.75 million from Celta. That was his minimum fee release clause, but to be honest I was more than willing to pay the amount that I did. When I scouted him actually, the scout said that it wouldn't be likely that he'd want to join us, but he did in the end, so that was great. As you can see, he's got all the stats really to play either deep or advanced in the striker position. He's highly skillful, really agile. He's got 14 in pace, 15 agility and 14 acceleration. But his mental then is what really took me in to actually get him. 16 off the ball, 17 flair and 16 composure are going to be absolutely brilliant for a team like Swansea. And then his dribbling and finishing then, dribbling 16 and finishing of 14. Finishing stat of 14 with a composure stat of 16 it's obviously going to be much better than finishing a 14 with something like 10 in composure. So that's really good there. You can also link up really well, obviously, with passing at 15 and technique at 15. So he should be a really key player in the forthcoming season. So Wellington Nem then is probably the most popular player on this Football Manager game in Football Manager 2013. In the previous patch he was available for something like 3.5 million with his minimum fee release clause, but in this one they've upped that to 17.5, and I did pay that. The reason I was able to pay that basically is that over the course of the first few transfers in and out, I pretty much broke even, so I still had that 17 million that the board gave me initially. So I decided to go for him. As you can see, he's a wonder kid basically. He can play as a winger or an attacking mid. He's got great speed, dribbling, and good stats in all the relevant areas really. Off the ball being 14. Flair is probably a little below what you might expect for a Brazilian wonder kid. It's 13, but that can be up to no problem at all. 14 creativity. Let's see, his finishing of 11, that can be improved. It all really depends. At the age of 20, you just look at where you want him to improve as a player, and you turn him into your kind of player. So yeah, he's got a lot of potential to improve there. So as you can see then, for tactics, I've gone for a pretty standard 4-5-1. Basically, it's not too risky. The idea is to pass the ball and counter them when the opportunity arises. Possession isn't really the main aim. The main idea is pretty much to be organised in defence and hit on the break when the opportunity is there. Take a look at the team instructions I've gone for. As I said, not really too risky. All of the instructions are set pretty close to normal. The defensive line is a little bit higher because I want them to be slightly more assertive than kind of taking a battering all the time, falling back and having loads of shots taken on goal. The width then is slightly narrower. Get everyone in nice and tight and make it hard for everybody to, well, the opposition to break through the defence. The tempo is a little bit higher than normal. As I said, it's not really a possession tactic. I want them to break at a little bit of speed, and then time wasting. I've gone for quite average amount of time wasting. As I said, I want them to pass a bit, but when the opportunity is there, I really want them to hit the opponent on the counter, and so I obviously have counter attack there set as well. I don't have playmaker set because sometimes I think you can end up losing the ball a lot if the players are looking for the same player all the time, and the opposition might choose to mark that player. So just for safety's sake, again, like I said, didn't want to be too risky, so I said I'd leave the playmaker out of it this time, as well as the target man. So now then, we'll take a look at some of the individual stats. So form then, I've set to a slightly defensive mentality. I don't want him to be just hoofing it up the field anytime that he feels like it, so he's slightly restricted there. Creativity is really restricted. I don't like when you set goalkeepers too high in creativity. Passing is quite short. I want him to play it out short to the defender so we can build attacks from there. Don't really have anyone up front who's tall enough to be hoofing the ball up to. So I've set his distribution to defender collect, and that defender is Ashley Williams. He's pretty good technically. We'll take a look at Rangel then, and his instructions are pretty much, they're the same as Neil Taylor. Both fullbacks. As I said, the real point of this tactic is not to be too risky, so they're not set to run from deep often. They'll do it when the time is right, and both of them have pretty good decision making stats, so hopefully they'll be able to choose the right time to go forward. Run with ball, through balls and cross the ball, they're also set to sometime, so they're not going to be launching the ball unless it's absolutely necessary. Closing down then in their own half, I really want that back four to be quite organised, so I'm not going to get any of them to be rushing out of the back line unnecessarily. Creativity is pretty normal. Obviously there's times when you want your full back to be attacking, so it is left up a little bit to them. So I've gone for a bit of a cover and stopper / defensive centre back with the cover. Ashley Williams is pretty much the perfect type of player to play in the cover position. As you can see, his pace and acceleration are at 15 and 14 respectively. His jumping stat isn't really very high, it's 13, so he's much more of a cover kind of centre back. He's also 6 foot, so 13 with 6 foot. You could get a striker who's 6'1" and he could absolutely destroy him. So yeah, I've set him to cover. His anticipation and positioning of 15 will really help out in that role. Bartley then, I was looking at bringing in a centre back, but there weren't really many who would consider signing for the club that I thought would really vastly improve the back line. So I've gone for Bartley here, who was already at the club. He's young, he's 21, and out of the defenders that are at the club, he's really the best to play a more kind of confrontational, stop the opposition attacking kind of role. His jumping of 15, strength of 15 are obviously quite good for that. Marking and tackling of 14 and 15, and heading there of 15, supporting both of those attributes. Britain then, I've set his instructions also to close down within zone half. He's going to be covering for Michu and Guzman in midfield. He's a pretty good passer, so I've kept his through balls on sometimes rather than limiting him to just your standard 80 passes to feet kind of game. I haven't set him to too short of passes either. It's a little bit less than a normal mix. But yeah, his role is really to stay in that holding position, hold the ball up while Michu, De Guzman, Hernandez and Wellington them pretty much get into position to attack, and then release it to them, or Taylor and Rangel coming up from the side. De Guzman then, he's going to play pretty much a supporting centre mid kind of role. Think of maybe Scholes when he wasn't playing so much of a holding role for United, when he was kind of physically more able to do so. So yeah, his through balls are probably going to be quite key, because even Michu beside him is probably going to burst forward as well. So you'll have Michu, Nem and Hernandez to choose from, as well as Aspas coming short or maybe playing a ball in behind the defence to him. His mentality is to attack slightly more than defend, but he will be expected to get back more so than Michu. He's also set to tight marking, so he will do some form of a defensive role in the team. Michu then is a player with fantastic goal scoring attributes. He's set to quite attacking for the team here in his mentality. Creativity, I've tried to limit creativity in most of the players. Partially for Michu is because he does like to play hit long shots a lot of the time, and I don't really like my teams to do that in Football Manager, which is also why I've taken his long shots there back to rarely. When he's obviously going to be in a more advanced position than the Guzman, so it's going to be less risky for him to play through balls, so I set that to quite often. He's quite a slow player, so I don't want him to run with the ball too often, so I've set that to pretty much moderate sometimes. His crossing there, that's not really going to affect him too much either way. I don't really expect him to get too wide, and I've set him to roaming as well, so he can find some space there in behind Aspas or wherever it comes up really. Hernandez then is going to be pretty much your typical kind of inside forward. I've set his wide play to move into channels, so that initially he might start off inside, and then when there's a bit of space a little further out he might move in there and really attack with that pace of his. He's got all the stats really for the instructions that I've said, and his running is not, his dribbling isn't too bad, so I've set him to run with ball primarily though because he does have that pace. So even though his dribbling, I think it's 14, yeah, dribbling of 14, so that's not a really great stat, but the fact that he is quite quick will help him along with that. His long shots are pretty average. Through balls, as a winger you don't really want him to be playing too many anyway. And crossing, I've set that to sometimes as well, because I do want him to get into the box at times as well and really have a go at the goal. I've also set him to roaming because of that kind of role as well, where I want him to get into positions where he can score. Wellington Nem then is quite similar really in his settings to Hernandez, although I've taken his long shots off, so he'll probably be less likely to come inside and try and have a go. So he'll be pretty much weighing up his options of playing through balls early on or going to the byline and crossing it. As I mentioned previously, he does have really good pace stats, and his dribbling of 16 is also very good, and crossing of 14. So that's why I've set his instructions like that. I haven't set either Hernandez or Nem to close down too often, because I do want them to track back rather than press the opposition and then leave us without numbers at the back. Aspas then, at times I'll play him in the role that I haven't set to, at times I'll play him deeper and he'll come back and get involved in interplay with Michu and Guzman. Primarily though, he's going to be an advanced forward. I need somebody who's going to take it upon themselves to get a lot of goals. Yeah, so his run from deep is set to often. Mentality, pretty attacking, and his creativity is pretty high for this team also, because as I said, it's a lot less risky when you're up as far up the pitch as he is, so you can get away with a lot more in terms of attacking play and more directness. He will close down pretty much everywhere, so right from the beginning of the opponent's attack from defense, he'll close down there, because we need somebody to be doing that while the rest of the players are tracking back pretty much. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. If you liked it, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. I'll have another video pretty shortly, maybe tomorrow, maybe the day after.